We're alive. Sweet. We're chilling here with Matt, the founder of CoverCard in the chill out zone at the Startup Week.
Startup Precinct.
Startup Precinct.
Startup Precinct, get it right. Come on, we're here.
I've done 2 startup weekends the last 2 weeks, so it took me a while to get the first startup weekend right.
Yep.
Now I've got to try and forget about startup.
Those events are full on, aren't they? Like I've been through a couple myself, and it takes a few days almost to recover from them if you really go hard. So yeah.
Well, it's been a week and I still haven't recovered.
That's a bit too long. I think you should be getting over it by now. But yeah.
Awesome. So Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself, and what brings you to. Are you in the River City?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're based just over there, River City Labs, out of shot. But we moved up here from Melbourne as part of the Advanced Queensland Hot Desk program, which is a really good way to bring entrepreneurial people and startups into the state. Part of Advanced Queensland are doing a bunch of good stuff for Queensland businesses as well. And so I'm the co-founder of CoverCard. And we help blue-collar workers better manage the hard copy tickets and licenses they need for their job. So like driving a forklift or entering a construction site, things like this. They're all in hard copy, and it's really old school and really manual way of managing all of that data. So we help them digitise it and then make that a whole lot more shareable with employers, colleagues, friends and others. So unleashing the real value in that data is what we're looking to do. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. So could you give us a rundown of how that works and what's the current system to people who don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment in the construction industry, mining and manufacturing and other industries, you have to have literally hard copy physical cards to do different jobs. And so some people might have 6, 7 or 8 of these things. They lose them, they expire, the information is not very shareable because it's all in hard copy. So it makes the process really, really manual. And then when an employer is looking for a worker, they just want to know what tickets and licenses a worker has, and there's no easy way to access that information. Like they put a job ad out and they get hundreds of resumes, and most of them don't have the right tickets and licenses. Whereas with our system, we cut all of that out so that the employer can just deal with perhaps the 10 or 20 candidates that have the right tickets and licenses. So it's a real efficiency for both workers and employers. So digitising stuff that's in hard copy it's been in hard copy for way too long, and it's just another example where turning things digital just opens up so many more possibilities. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. So give us a backstory.
How did it start?
Yeah,
absolutely. So my co-founder is a guy called John Gwynn, and he's a boilermaker. So he's a tradesman. He goes off to mine sites and he has all these cards. And it was originally his vision to say, I've just got all this stuff, I lose them, I don't have it. When I first met John, we had a coffee and he pulled out his wallet and he threw one card on the table, a second card, a third card. And he kept going, and then he reached into his bag and pulled out like another 3 more. So when I looked at that, I went, man, this is so inefficient, this is crazy, there's got to be a better way to do this. And then, we went from there and looked at, how can you turn this into a business? And when we explored what it was that employers and recruiters are looking for, which is all exactly the same data, we realised we could put a business model around that and make it into something. So a lot of credit goes to John and his original vision that he saw for this. So and it's good having a guy like, he's on the tools, he's in the industry, so he's seen this absolutely firsthand in terms of the trouble that it's given him over the years. So he's really, really close fit to the market, the problem that we're trying to solve.
That's awesome. Great story.
Cool. I
love entrepreneurial stories.
Yeah. No, look, it comes from solving we've got to be solving problems as entrepreneurs, and if we're not solving anyone's problem, then it's going to be pretty hard to make that a successful business.
And like most of them, they start in a cafe, right?
yeah, absolutely. So I was actually back in Perth at the time, and I went to they're called morning startup every 2 weeks in Perth, and there's a message board online, and John just put a message up and said, I've got all these cards and got a business idea around it. And I'd previously worked a bit in the mining industry and consulting, and I knew really slow adoption of technology and innovation. And so we just arranged to meet in a cafe one morning, and John just started pulling out all these cards, and it's like, wow, why is no one doing something in this space yet? It grew from there over the last couple of years really, and we spent a bunch of time kind of researching, understanding the market, and then we've gone and launched our product, and it's we're getting some good traction with it, and continuing to grow, which is really cool. So,
awesome. So you've been running for a few years?
I guess we had the idea 2-3 years ago. We launched our product last year, towards the end of last year properly. And yeah, we've got a steady stream of workers joining our platform. We're working with some employers, but really looking to grow the employer side more and more. And so, employers that are in the construction, mining industries, even things like security. We have a whole lot of security licenses that we can do as well. So people that are, bouncers or, fight, they might be, the guys that empty ATMs and, transfer money. We can help solve a lot of problems in that industry as well. So overall, there's 3.8 million of these workers in Australia alone, and the same problem holds in a lot of other developed countries around the world, US, UK, New Zealand. So we've got the infrastructure built now that once we understand the tickets and licenses in those other countries, we can just take our model in there and just deploy it really quickly. So so it's really exciting time for us. There's a huge potential for it.
That's great. So you guys rolling on, going good, and you're enjoying Queensland?
Yeah, it was pretty warm when I first got up here in January. It was roasting, but Queensland's a great place to be for a startup. There's so much energy around startups at the moment here, like with the precinct, bringing all the startups together. I think I saw that Queensland's now number 2 for startups in Australia. New South Wales is still ahead, but overtaking Victoria. It's a really awesome milestone, and you can feel the energy around the place in the 3 or 4 months I've been here. So Myriad was a great way to get everybody together, and it's a great time. So encourage people to get up here and give it a go. You've just got to start. You really just got to start stuff and see where it takes you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Just make it happen. So I'm going around asking a few questions, and one of the problems I'm facing at the moment is finding the right team. And for you, what's your team size, and how did you go about finding them?
Yeah, so finding a team can be quite a challenge. So I'm a non-technical founder of CoverCard, and so we had it hasn't been smooth sailing at all. We have had a couple of false starts with technical people, and then we chose then to get started with outsourced part of the build, and quite soon we're actually going to be looking for an internal developer to join our team. So there's an opportunity if we continue our growth over the next couple of months. So happy to talk to anyone that might be interested. But I think it's really about finding people that you feel comfortable working with, and that have that same vision and that same alignment. And I guess obviously networking is a great way to do it, and connecting into startup scenes and startup places. There's no kind of silver bullet to doing it, but I think no matter what role you have in the startup, there's so many things you can actually do to get really early traction and interest that make you a whole lot more attractive when people are thinking about joining your team. So in my case, so I built the first version of our website myself with no coding skills. So it was literally everyone can do landing pages, but then I used a form building software online, and we created a form that could capture qualifications, could create a nice PDF that the worker could then use to apply for jobs. And then we put that in the market, and we got some early traction, and that helped prove to us that the proposition could work. And then when we were out there talking to potential developers and the investor agency that we're working with down in Melbourne, it was a much better conversation because we'd actually been able to do a whole bunch of stuff ourselves. And so, there's so many tools out there. You can't do everything, but there's so many things you can do to really prove your business and get it going. And the more you do that, you'll find that more people will come to you and want to work with you.
The validation side of things.
Oh, absolutely. Ideas are nothing, right? Everyone has ideas. If you don't actually make that effort to go out and take action to make it happen, then so many people, they go, I've got this great idea and I just need a tech co-founder, or I just need this other skill set to make it work. I just think that's, most of the time that's a load of rubbish. You just got to get out and actually do, find the tools online and just, get things going, and then you'll find that it snowballs and other people will come on board and help you. And, just entrepreneurship's all about problem solving. You just, if the problem is you don't have the right skills, then you've got to find a way around it, and you just keep problem solving until you get there.
execute, validate,
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
it should just fall into place, right?
Well, you make it sound really easy. It's not quite. I don't think it's as easy as that, right? But,
That's the word framing, but there's a lot of
look, and the validation. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can have an idea, but until you actually put something into the market and test it and get some feedback, you don't really know if it's even going to work. So to go and engage, to either pay money or to engage, in my case, if you wanted to engage an engineer too early, you don't even know, how viable it is. There's so many things you can do to actually test your all the assumptions that you've made, because we all make so many assumptions in when we're thinking about a business idea. So you got to find ways to slowly tick off all those, or as many of those assumptions as you can, to give yourself, the confidence that this thing, can really work for you. So
Awesome. And on your journey so far, have you hit any road bumps, pivots?
So as I mentioned, we had 2 false starts with developers where we worked with them for a few weeks, and then for different reasons decided to go different ways, mainly around those people were were working full time, or they were working sort of part time and didn't have enough sort of focus as time to put into it as I guess the vision that we had for what we were trying to do. I think we've also learnt, so on our recruiter and employer side, we've actually discovered a few things that we talk about testing assumptions, like so the integration of our system into others is something that we'd probably underestimated, and now we're needing to tweak a few things to make it easier for our data to go off into other systems more easily, which we hadn't probably fully considered as well as we should have. We've been bootstrapped, and then we've received a grant, so I guess we're always trying to run as lean as we possibly can, which is a good way to go. But yeah, I mean, it's never been, it's never smooth running a startup. It's like, this is just the way of the world. And but if you persist and you keep finding ways to solve problems, you can keep moving forward, and that's the main thing.
Awesome. And on the topic of that, so what would your ideal lifestyle be? Like, what's your, 9 to 5?
Oh, in terms of how much you work, or
like what are you doing right now? What gets you out of bed every morning?
Yeah, totally. So it's all about talking to customers at the moment. So we're really having a real big push on our employer and recruiter side. So there's a lot of cold calling, a lot of working through networks and introductions. We're just about to launch a digital advertising campaign to acquire a whole bunch more employers and recruiters onto our platform. So I get the growth potential is huge. So I get really excited about finding and working with more new employers and recruiters. That's what gets me excited. I guess in terms of ideal lifestyle, I mean, I think I don't know. I enjoy being at the coalface of what we're doing, but I think as a startup scales, the role of the CEO changes quite a lot, and I think that's something that we haven't yet really got to that point. But you need to be able to entrust people around you and empower them to go out and do the job, and then you become a little bit more, a little bit more strategic in your approach. So you're not hands-on in the business all the time in terms of running it. I guess you more sort of step back a little bit.
A bit flexible.
Yeah, a little bit more strategic, and you work on slightly different problems, I guess, rather than at the moment we're very much in an early growth stage. So it's like as many sales as we can get through is absolutely key for us, and then that'll as we grow, my role I guess will change, but it'll be good problem to have, right? So
Awesome. And final question: what's your favourite beach, globally, and then what's your favourite city globally?
Oh, look, I've been to Boracay in the Philippines, which is an awesome beach. Just lovely. There's beach bars and beautiful white sand and palm trees and all sorts of stuff. So I recommend you should go there. And you said city, right?
Yes,
is the other one?
Yes.
I really like Prague in the Czech Republic. So it's a beautiful It's got beautiful cobblestone streets and lovely old buildings and really cheap beer. Yeah, that's a fun place I was in a few years ago, and I got some great memories of that. So,
awesome, man. Well, thanks, Matt, for joining us in the chill out zone at the Startup Precinct. We'll be back with more live streams. Make sure you hit the like at Beach City Life and go and check out CoverCard.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Cheers,
Catch you, dude.
See you guys.